Today I'm going to share the results of canning up the spiced cabbage.
Well, hi guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry. And today, as you see in the title, I am opening and testing and having a post-canning chat on my canning session from yesterday. So, I canned, hopefully you watched the video, I canned this gorgeous, and I'm going to tell you, this is the prettiest, just about the prettiest thing you could ever put on your pantry shelf. Look at that. Beautiful crimson, magenta coleslaw. Spiced red cabbage. So I have a couple of things. I still have to wash these jars, but I had this one, it's sealed, but it took 2.5 hours for it to seal. See that sound? It's sealed on there, but it doesn't sound right to me. So the button went down, but I don't feel it's a good vacuum seal, which is fine because I was gonna open these anyway. So that's number one. I had a seal that didn't, and thankfully it's only a pint, it's not a quart, and it's only one jar. It's a bummer when you get 2 or 3 in one canning session. These did siphon a little bit. I showed that in the video. They did a little bit of the broth, or the juice, the brine, I should say. It calls for a 1/2 inch headspace. I still have a 1/2 inch headspace up there, but I lost a little bit of the brine on some of these. So I think next time I do it, I really want closer to 1 inch. It's not gonna change the processing time or anything else. I think I want more like 1 inch for the product and then bring the brine up a little bit further, if that makes sense, okay? Instead of, and then that way the product's totally submerged, because this did, as it cooks, you know, in the jar, it definitely swelled up, and yeah. And so we have kind of a sticky brine on the outside. I've gotta wash those jars, but and also, and this was a recipe basically out of the bulk book that I did, and it's cut in half. It's half of the books that I have call for 12 pounds of cabbage. And so I cut everything in half. Some of the recipes call for 1 spice and some of them didn't. So I tried to adjust it to my taste buds, because spices don't change the acidity level or the timing on your canning process. So it's that vinegar and it's the brine. So the brine mixture, I cut the product stuff in half. I did 6 pounds of cabbage. So, or roughly six. I started out with 6.5 pounds, but by the time you cut the core out and take a couple of the outside leaves, I figured 6 pounds is pretty fair, right? It was only supposed to make 5 or 6 pints. It made 10. 10! That's a lot of extra. So I had to make 2 batches of brine, even though I had done 1.5 times the recipe. And the other thing I learned, and we're gonna find out, this one I know for a fact, this one is not from, no, maybe it is, from the apple cider, or not the apple cider, the red wine vinegar. So red wine vinegar is expensive. A big container, 24 ounce, so 1.5 pints, is almost $4, or maybe it is $4. Anyway, you need a lot of that. So I switched over to apple cider vinegar on my second batch of brine, and it doesn't matter as long as the vinegar is 5% acidity. So that's totally up to you if you want that. You could add a little bit of red wine. I wouldn't cut back on the vinegar. I just would add a little bit of red wine, and if you want that flavor. But yeah, let's do a taste test. I need a taste test. And this canned in the steam canner for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, as soon as the dial comes up to, and sorry about my mess. I got my lunch mess over there, sorry. As soon as it comes up to the right spot for your altitude, then it's okay to have it. But I'm gonna bring you in close, and I'll let you see it up close, and I'm gonna do a taste test, and we're gonna see if this is all that it's cracked up to be, because it's kind of labor intensive. You've got to shred that cabbage, and if you don't have a mandolin, you're cutting that all by hand, and then you have to salt it and let it sit for 24 hours, and then you rinse it, and then they want you to leave it out on paper toweling for 6 hours. I did not see a need to dry it like that for 6 hours because you're just gonna pour brine over it. So I rinse, then I salad spun it to get most of the water out, and then I laid it out for about 2 hours. And I figured that was gonna have to be sufficient enough because I'm pouring wet liquid over it. So maybe they don't want any water to skew the acidity, I'm not sure. But a pickling brine a lot of times has water in it as well. So there's that. If any of you have canned this particular delicious looking spiced cabbage, let me know. Give me a comment down below. Let me bring you down and I'll show you what we got. So I feel like it was really important for you to hear the difference. This is a good seal. It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. So even though it had, and I put it in the fridge as soon as it sealed, I saw that it sealed because the button had sucked down, but I just didn't trust that it had a really good seal. So there you go. All right. And there's what it looks like. Ooh, even the brine now is very magenta-like. And you've got mustard seeds and all that. Okay. Oh my gosh, my mouth's watering. I love pickled anything. And I can tell this has got some crunch to it. I can feel it. Look at that. Can you see how pretty that is? I don't know if the camera even picks up how pretty. It's a beautiful magenta, okay? Almost like a pretty beet color right now. Okay, here we go. Trying it out. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's got crunch to it. It's got sweet, but not too sweet. Definitely, it's more sour than it is sweet. So it's definitely pickly. I see that on a pulled pork sandwich all day long. A burger. I would mix this. The girls on our canning chat, we've all been talking about this and mixing it with fat-free Greek yogurt and making a slaw for fish tacos. That is delicious. I am really glad that I took the 2 days to do it because it was a little bit intense on the amount of time. But I'm going to tell you, I think it was worth it. Yeah, it's a sweet and sour kind of a effect. So good. Well, and what a great way to preserve your cabbage for winter. I'm glad that I have this on my shelf. I will try it with a little bit of Greek yogurt, which will tone down. You would drain it, you know, obviously drain it, and then tone down the effects of the tangy, vinegary flavor. But spiced pickled cabbage, this would be good with green cabbage too. I think if you mix the green and the red, it would be beautiful, but you would end up with magenta and light pink. So good. All right, this was a winner. It's time consuming and it's a little bit of labor intensive because you're cutting up, well, it was for me. I don't have a cabbage mandolin, And I'm not going to purchase one for just, you know, maybe doing this once every year or two. I have cabbage growing in my garden. If it produces anything, that's what I'm going to make with it. So I do hope this inspires you to try your hand at the spiced red cabbage, because it is delicious. And know that you're going to probably have more than you were ready for. And you'll definitely want to double the brine. And this is pretty enough for a gift. So if you have somebody that loves pickled stuff, gift them some pickled cabbage, because it's delicious. All right. I hope it inspires you. And if you have any questions, or you just want to chime in and tell me that you did it and you had the same stuff happen, or, you know, it doesn't matter. Whatever you would like to talk about down below, I encourage you, please let me know. All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe and hit that like button for me. It really helps.